Hello. Today I'm going to be walking you through how to use the query function as well as its syntax. This is going to be a little bit more of an advanced course, but hopefully it'll be nice, short, and concise, and will bring you up to speed on how to use the different syntax options within the query function. I won't be going through all of them. I think I'll be leaving out format, options, and offset, but maybe that'll come in a different course. I just don't use them too often, but maybe there's great value in them. So just beginning to give you a little bit of information here from columns A to E. This is sample data. It's all made up. And column G is the different syntax options that you have available within a query function. So let's begin. I will start by writing a query function. So you enter query, in brackets, you select your data that you want to pull through. And then in quotation marks, you will enter the syntax that you want to start with. In this case, I'm just going to show off one thing, which is select all. Here, this selects every single column. As you can see, columns A to E, it's identical. This is good when you're pulling information from one spreadsheet to another, or if you want to apply filters directly to your data without messing up the source. So to make this a little more interesting, we're not going to select all. Instead, we're just going to select columns C and columns E. So once we've done that, as you can see, I've got just C, just E, and there's no particular order to it just yet. So we've gone through the basics of the select function, and now we'll move on to the where clause. To keep this neat, I'm going to enter this on a second line by clicking Control Enter. This just makes it easier to debug if there's any problems as we go along. So on to the second syntax function. It's the where clause. To start, I'm going to remove all values that are less than 3, less than or equal to 3. So here we've got J. You can see right here, there's a 3, there's a 3, there's a 2. So I'm going to say where column E, the one that has the cost itself, is greater than 3. As you can see, it's removed all those values. Let's say I want to remove those 4s. I can say less than 4, and it hides all of them. But we're going to continue. If you want to add a second clause, you could use the AND function and say, and C is equal to, and we're going to say cube. Let's do that. We might get an error here. Yes, I needed the double quotations. So as you can see here, now it's only showing cubes with values greater than 4. So next up, we're going to apply the group by function. In order to do this, we're going to select group by, and we're going to add in C. We're actually going to run into an error right away. And the reason why is we need to aggregate column E with some sort of rule. Right now, it's each line of E is an individual value. We might want to do the sum of E, the average of E. By transforming it, it will fix the error that we're about to encounter. So here, when I click Enter, you could see unable to parse query string for function query parameter 2, cannot group without ag. So to fix this, as I mentioned, we're going to enter sum of E. Doing it this way, we can see that the sum of all cubes is 488 cost-wise when E is greater than 4. So for the sake of this to be more interesting, I'm going to add back the 3, and I'm also going to remove the AND clause. I don't really need it for this. As you can see here, it shows circles 525, cubes 496, rectangles 115. So Now on to the next phase. We're going to add a pivot function. Well, one more thing to mention actually before I jump. So we've got sum of E. We're going to also do sum of B. And we're going to group that. So here you could also see that you could add secondary columns and it will show you the totals by each one. And this is just useful. It's basically allowing you to do quick summations. I could even take the average weight instead. You do AVG. And then you could see there, you could basically use any function. I could say min, or we could even say min max of B, and we get that there. So instead, though, what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove this information, and we're going to add in next the pivot element. So to do that, it's very simple. What this is going to do is this is going to change our formula so that it will show in column, in the column, it will show C, which is the shape, and on the other axis, it will show the color, red, blue, whatnot. So we'll pivot by D. When we do that, we can see the following. I'll just center this and make this bold. So here you can see that we've got 212 cost associated with blue circles, 313 associated with red circles, and no cost associated with blue rectangles. So this is a very useful function, basically lets you create a pivot table without having to create a pivot table. Next, though, what we're actually going to do is remove this pivot function and instead switch to order by. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually add in D there. We're going to order by D, order by C and E. And what did we do wrong? Order by must select E. Oh, that's right, sum of E. So now here, using the order by function, what we've done is we've created a little pivot that shows us circles, cubes, rectangles, ordered by the sum of the cost after we've done D. So here, C, ordered by C. Yeah. So if we wanted, we could instead order by just sum of E, and it will tell you in ascending order the sum of the costs with the different factors we've inputted. Let's say I wanted to change that order. I could switch from ascending, which it is currently, to descending, which is denoted by DESC. And you can see now it's the highest cost going downwards. I'll also, just to keep this interesting, add in the sum of B so that we have a secondary value as well. And let me just get rid of some of those decimals so that's not an eyesore. Okay, so continuing on, we might not want to show all these values. Let's say I wanted to only show the top 3. We could then use the limit function. So here, what you're going to do is limit the number of rows and columns that are being showed. So in this case, to hide some of the rows, I'm going to enter limit 3. And you can see it's only showing the top 3 values. Let's say I wanted 2. Does 2. I'll switch it back to 3 though. This is what the limit function does. It's very useful if you want to do a top 10 or something like that. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is the label function. The label function is pretty straightforward, but also it's kind of nice. It lets you add in different labels than what are predetermined by the query function. So what you need to do, though, is you need to select the column that you want to change. In this case, I'm going to switch first C, which is shape, and I'm going to call it, you do single quotes, and say top 3 shapes. And as you can see, the name is changed. Then what I could also do is I could go and switch the second one, or both the sums. So instead of K saying sum of cost, I'm going to switch it to sum of E is instead going to be total cost, while sum of B is going to be total weight. And once I've done that, our table is nice and neat. It's easy to read. You could go and you could change different colors. Let's say I wanted this to match. I could just go select that. Maybe I'll shrink this a little bit. But with the pivot table, you can really slice and dice your data. It's very efficient to use. There's even more possibilities than what I've showed you today. You could do the offset function. You could do formatting and options. But with the ones that I've shown you, you can pretty much recreate pivot tables, and you could be a little more agile with your data. I think on the next session, what I'll show you how to do is add filters. That's a really important part of why I use queries. And it makes your parsing of data easy, and it also allows you to hand the output to someone else for them to use as a dashboard. So we'll go into that the next time. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can just message me in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to follow. Thank you and have a good day.